All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to week 3 of book club. We are talking about this book. Has anyone found the typos yet? Don't get me started. So we are talking about chapter 2, which is all about the benefits of being an introvert. Benefits to yourself and benefits to your clients as well. So I have a few notes here that I can go through, but this is usually more fun if you guys start the conversation. So anyone have any initial thoughts on this? What do you think the benefits are and how has this shown up in your business? How has being an introvert helped you? Cheryl, hi.
I think one of the benefits is that, you can self-discover who you are and what your talents are so that you can really just introspectively kind of figure out what you need to do and not try and be in the craziness out there. So that's kind of what I take from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Pat.
Um, Knowing that we are good listeners and that we have the patience to actually go 3 deep, where, extroverts are 100 miles an hour and, they might get the question out, but I don't even know if they hear the answers sometimes. So yeah, that is, something I'm sometimes always felt like was a drawback to being an introvert, not the listening part, but the being quiet part, and just discovering that that's really such a benefit is huge to to wrap your head around, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can think of it, not just you, everyone on the call, I would love to hear an example of how that's really shown up in your business, if that comes to mind throughout the call.
Well, it was funny. I was on a listing appointment on Tuesday, which is my first one since I jumped back in, which was February 16th. So 3 months to the day, I got the appointment scheduled, and then I Tuesday went. And it was funny because I was with my broker, who's a total extrovert, and he won't let you get a word in edgewise. And the lady goes, um, I haven't heard you say anything. And I was like, yep, it's the Mark show. So it was pretty funny because, I definitely was taking mental notes, and I'll be following up with them today. So we're going to double cross fingers and see if we can get it. So, but it's funny that she very much take notice. And I looked at her and I go, introvert, extrovert. That's what I said. So
I love that
they
you said that.
just kind of laughed.
That's awesome. Congratulations, first of all. That's huge. Getting back into the business is not easy. I know I've done it. I'm kind of in the midst of it right now. It's a hustle, it's a grind. Um, and that's great that you brought someone with you and you guys can feed off of each other. Hopefully you win the business, but I think it's funny that she recognized that and that you said, yeah, I'm an introvert. I'm taking it all in.
That's what I did.
And wouldn't you all agree that some clients are going to naturally want to work with someone who's more quiet? Like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, it's all about we talk about it all the time, right? It's all about being leveling out to their perspective, right? Trying to meet them where they're at, right? So I wouldn't say these people were particularly, necessarily quiet, introverted people, but the fact of the matter that she recognized it told me that she was also kind of sitting back and listening too.
Yeah, and I don't want to hate on the extroverts either because they have a place in the world and a lot of clients want that high energy and they want that talkativeness and all the benefits that they have. It's just matching up personalities and clients a little bit. Yeah, Sharon. Hi.
I would say that where it's shown up recently in my business is the detail-oriented aspect of introverts. because I've always been that. And um, so right after Elevate, I had a listing to put up, and so now we're deep into repair negotiations, and so there are a lot of different aspects. There's wood rot repairs, there's plumbing repairs, there's electrical repairs, and it was a short closing. It's supposed to close next week on the 30th, but um, it's going to be touch and go because we've got a lot of repairs to do. But over the past, over this week so far, I've been scrambling to put those people in place, those vendors in place, and get the quotes and interact with the sellers, of which there are, three involved, actually, the daughter and two sons of the couple. The wife passed away, the husband has dementia. It's just, so it's been a lot of listening. I think the daughter has appreciated my ability to listen to a lot of the stuff that's going on and just, take it in. And I've actually used some of the fear she has expressed, kind of to communicate that in a way to her brother, who used to be a mortgage broker. So he's got his whole aspect. I mean, it's just kind of that um, human interaction sort of thing, and dealing with each one of the different personalities and kind of giving each information they might need to understand what the other one is acting on, all of that kind of thing. So I would say I've been in the thick of all of that over the last few days. So my listening skills and the detail-oriented portion of it, sending them all lengthy emails about exactly what's going on and how things work here in Northwest Florida, which is different than Indiana or Arizona where they are. So
I love that. It's really important. And it's not just being detail oriented, but like you said, communicating. It sounds like a lot of emotional intelligence is being used as well to navigate all of these relationships amongst each other in the midst of grief, probably, and just a tough situation. And I mean, we're not just selling houses, we're helping people through these really tough life transitions. So good for you. That's amazing. Cheryl, did you have your hand up earlier?
No, I mean, I was just going to say, I think sometimes matching energies and really, I think to Sharon's point and actually also to Patty's point, really listening and taking that in. And again, I'm that introverted extrovert, which we've talked about. So I am a little bit of both. And so I am high energy. I think most of you know that. But sometimes I have to like sit back, and especially if I see somebody that is, on the more introverted side, really kind of calming down and matching their energy has been something that I've really been focusing on, especially in listing appointments. And your book has helped me. So thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And on the flip side, for those of us who are more on the introvert side and more naturally quiet, sometimes we have to make an effort in those appointments to amp up our energy. I know that I've lost listings before because I was too chill. And the client didn't, what that translated to, I remember one instance in particular, the client gave me feedback and said that she didn't think I was excited to sell her house because I wasn't energetic enough. And that was a really, obviously, this was many, many years ago. It stuck with me because it was hard to hear and it was really important, helpful feedback because I had no idea. I'm feeling all this stuff inside, but if I'm not showing it to a type of personality that needs to be shown, like that's the platinum rule. We have to communicate with people in their style while still being authentic to ourselves. We're not putting on a show, but we are tapping into some of these different layers for a moment in time, for your hour at the kitchen table, and then you can go back to your natural state. That's sort of how I view it. Because I know that sometimes when I talk about this, it can sound like I'm telling you guys to be something you're not. It's not that, it's more just making the other person feel comfortable. And that also takes energy. Comes back to energy management. Like if I have to be on and bring high energy, I need to have it to start with. That's my tangent. All right. Who else has thoughts they would like to share? On these calls, everyone has the opportunity to share, and I never want anyone to feel pressured to. So that's where we find this balance. Let me look at my notes here.
Well, I have to be honest. I read ahead and I've already been in the energy battery and the draining list. And that's so huge for me because like a lot of us just came from Elevate and conventions are great. And it's like rah, 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 high energy, all of that. But I will tell you that at the end of the day, I'm zapped. I am like done. And that's why it's so funny. I've had several people go, "Oh, do you want a room?" And it's like, room together. It's like I don't room with people ever. And it's no disrespect to anyone. But at the end of the day, I just need to not talk to anybody. And it's just that's my battery recharge. And it's just part of who I now know I am.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I've never roomed with someone. I never will. The only exception would be if my boyfriend ever came with me to a conference, I would share a room with him. That's fine. He gets a pass. Everyone else, no.
No.
Not gonna
I did it
happen.
once. No.
I remember my very first big conference that I went to. It was a Keller Williams family reunion, and somebody in my office really wanted to room with me. She was my sponsor. We had this great bond, and I was just, and she's a very high I, very intense extrovert, and I just had this gut feeling that I was like, I don't think I would enjoy it. I think it would stress me out. And I had to politely tell her no. And it was really hard because she kind of was offended. And I didn't really have the words to talk about it yet because I was, I don't know, 25 and didn't know any of this stuff. I just had a gut feeling that I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So, yes, get your own hotel room. That's always my advice. So, some of my notes here about this chapter in particular, relationships. Introverts are really good at building relationships and going deep with people, asking great questions, listening, active listening, repeating back what we hear, and consulting versus selling. And in some ways, I sometimes feel like a coach with my clients. Like, well, what do you think? What would you like to do? And they'll ask my advice, and I have to be careful because I'm like, I'll tell you what I would do, but it's not really about me. It's about you. You have to decide. Here are the options. Here are the pros and cons. Yes, we are on chapter 2, but feel free to jump around, read ahead. These calls are more of like a format to talk about concepts. So I haven't read the chapter. Also,
Well, I think
really
the beauty of this book, Ashley, is that I think a lot of these things that I'm discovering about myself in here, I thought of as faults, right? Not necessarily faults, but not maybe positives, you know. And I think that that's what makes this such a feel-good book for me is understanding a little bit more about how I'm wired, and it's not necessarily a negative. So that's really cool. That's what's been really cool about this book.
I'm so glad. That's been my whole goal with this.
Well, and also with Quiet, discovering all these people that you wouldn't have, I would have, famous people that I would have never even thought what they would even qualify as introverts, you know, Dale Carnegie, what? So that's been really like, wow, like an eye opener.
Yeah.
Johnny Carson was a very infamous introvert, like super introverted. He was great on stage, but once he got off stage, didn't really want to converse with anyone. And most people wouldn't have thought that.
There's so many. There's so many. And the book Quiet that we're talking about, this is Susan Cain's book. And she wrote it years ago. It's probably been about a decade since it first came out. And it's all about introversion. That was the first book I read that helped me discover, as you guys know, helped me discover that I'm an introvert. Highly recommend it. It's very scientific and it's not at all a business book. It is very much just this is how the wiring works and this is how it works if you're raising children who are introverted. Really interesting. So highly recommend that one as well. But all of these differences about us, they're not negatives at all. They're strengths.
Yeah, that's what I love so much about Quiet is the sciencey part. That's stuff that I love, and I love the statistics and listening to the tests that they did, and how they discovered that the from the babies up and how they watched them through their years. I mean, it's really interesting stuff, and it really listens really well. I mean, I'm just can't wait to get to the next chapter on it. It's great.
So good. All right. Is anyone who hasn't shared yet, is anyone itching to speak up? And if not, no worries. It's all good. This is the introvert call. I'm just happy so many of you guys are on camera. I love that. You want to share their experience, how being an introvert has helped them? Yeah, Paul.
Hey everyone. So good to see some familiar faces on this call. So I totally had a crash and burn experience at Elevate, and I basically like crashed and burned like Sunday night before Elevate even happened, and I just barely struggled through the whole thing. And afterwards, I was trying to take an inventory about like what actually happened and what could I do better. And I was realizing that I made like zero like downtime for myself. So it was just sort of like drain, 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 die. So for advance, I am purposely putting in like an extra day afterwards so I could just be like in a hotel cocoon or something for like a day. And then also the day before or like the day before it starts. So I'm gonna like try putting in some insulation. So that's one thing I wanted to share. And then another thing that I wanted to share is that on Friday, I did a float tank sensory deprivation thing for like 90 minutes. And that has like changed my life. I realized that my whole life, I felt like a little baby in a womb. Um, and what I loved about it is that no one could like get a piece of me, like no phone calls. My wife wasn't being like, like, hey, I need your time. And so I realized that I need more of that. I realize I can't live in one of those things, but I need to make more purposeful time for myself in similar ways. So that was like revelatory for me. So FYI.
I love those salt floats, Paul. That's an amazing experience. If you've never done one of those before, highly recommend it.
I think I need to try it again. I did it once and I liked it, but I didn't have the life-changing experience that most people who do it did. And so I'm sitting there like judging my experience, like, why am I not? Why is this not working for me? But it was cool. I'll
They
try.
do sometimes say that you've got to wait. You've got to do it a few times. Sometimes there's an experience where you actually, if you get into it completely, you're supposed to actually sink into the salt. So the whole idea is, you're floating on the top, on the surface, right? But they say when you actually have the true experience of what's fully meant to happen, you'll have your breath aligned and everything will be in a place. And that didn't happen to me either, but that's what I look forward to trying to go back and make that happen.
I love the core concept though of shutting out the world and how can we make that happen more regularly without having to go in a float pod. We can do that too, but I'm sure there are other ways that it can be more in like the day-to-day life. I find a lot of peace turning my phone on do not disturb from 8 to 8. And that's been helpful. And yes, bookending, for people who are watching the replay or are not familiar with these events, we're talking about these conferences that a lot of us go to, Elevate, Advanced, Family Reunion, different things. Bookending a trip with downtime, like a free day or two afterwards to recuperate. I think that's such an important practice. I do that, and it makes a world of difference. And that way, when I get home, I'm actually refreshed and recharged and not needing a break or a vacation from my trip, So it's yeah, highly recommend. All good stuff. All right, in our last couple minutes here, anyone else want to share an experience about how being an introvert has been beneficial to you or to your clients? Any other examples of this? It's okay.
It dawns on me that if this group were filled with eyes, we wouldn't get a word in edgewise. I sort of find myself in two different worlds, if you will. I can navigate the conference, and I can go from 6 in the morning till 10 at night if need be. So it's not a matter of losing energy. It's just when I'm in the room, I'm more interested in observing others than putting myself in the spotlight. And so therefore, I'm looking for kindred spirits and looking to make connections, but I'm not very verbal about it. People would say otherwise, but in actuality, um, I'm looking more for somebody else to take the lead. And then when I see someone sometimes sitting by themselves, I'll make the effort to go and talk with them rather than have, because I sort of identify with being that person at times. So, my suggestion is maybe partner up with somebody that you are comfortable with, that you don't mind talking to. And then that person can be the person that introduces you to more people, or if you're inclined, if that's what you want. And for many people, that's not their motivation.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And I love that you take the initiative to go up and talk to people who might be too uncomfortable to come up and talk to anyone else. Like that takes courage.
And if you're looking for somebody else who matches your profile or your personality, then maybe you do that online through private messages or through emails or whatever happens to be, text messages, to say, I know you're going to the conference. Can we do something together? I'd like to meet on Sunday evening for the first, pre-event or something like that, so that you make that bond with someone you're comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. I think another one of our strengths as introverts is having quality over quantity. So we're never trying to meet every single person in the room. We're trying to find a few new people. At least that's what I do. I find a few new people to meet, and then I find a few people I already know to talk to, and then that's it. And then I'm done.
So you mentioned Elevate, and so there were people that were there that were handing out things, whether it was candies or cozies or pens or whatever it happened to be. And that can be the icebreaker. You don't have to really say a lot. The other person will respond to you, giving them some form of a gift, and then they'll carry the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a good icebreaker.
Of course, it's stuff to haul on, and when you're traveling, it's got to be something relatively small, and you're going to invest the money in it. It has to have something that people aren't going to throw away or put in the bottom of their suitcase and never use again. So that can be an opportunity and a challenge at the same time to figure out what is it that people want, not what you want to give.
It's true. All right, awesome. Thank you all for being here and for sharing. Any last
Thank you.
thoughts or questions before we wrap it up today? All right, fantastic. Well, if you'd like, we have KW Wellness is hosting a call with me today at 2 o'clock. So right at the top of the hour, 2 o'clock Eastern. And then we have our group coaching call today at 4 for Quiet Success Club members. And I will see you all next week, same time, same place. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.